Okay, good afternoon. For this session, the topic is the past, present, and the future of Tether. So with Tether's recent announcement of a 500 billion investment round, it seems clear that Tether's impact will expand even further. So in today's panel, we'll deep dive into Tether. So before we begin, let's start by having everyone introduce themselves. So who you are, what your project does, and how you came into working with stablecoins and on-chain finance. So let's begin with Angus first.
Hey, I am Angus, the product lead for Stargate now at LayerZero. I spent the last 2.5 to 3 years working as the foundation lead for the Stargate Foundation, previously with the Stargate DAO. As of last month, we were acquired by LayerZero, and so now lead product for Stargate at LayerZero. LayerZero is the market's largest interoperability protocol, connecting every asset and every chain. Have spent a lot of my last 3 years working with stablecoins, primarily USDC and USDT. Stargate as a protocol expands those assets to new ecosystems. But now with LayerZero, we support plenty of different stablecoins, many of them over some of the largest ones in the ecosystem or in the market. Not least Tether and USDT 0, which I'm excited to dive into.
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Emily. Actually today I'm representing Mantle because recently I just joined Mantle as the key advisor. And also I'm the head of sport at Bybit and also the founder of ByReal is a Solana DEX. So I'm wearing many hats, but today I'll be focused on Mantle. And Mantle is a layer 2 public chain built for the capital efficiency and also the institutional adoption. And after I joined Mantle, I think my key focus is on building and scaling the on-chain finance. And building Mantle is the key engineering infra for the RWA tokens, the real-world assets, and also the tokenized products, and also the stablecoin adoption.
Hi everybody, I'm Arun. I'm a co-founder at Stable. For some context, Stable is a L1 that uses USDT as a native gas token. We're a huge fan and users of USDT 0 as well as the wrapped version of our gas token. I've been in crypto since 2016 now, but a huge focus in stablecoins in 2020 and then again in 2022 when I became very desensitized and cynical about where the space was heading to, with stablecoins being the last bastion of hope and value add for me within crypto. So really happy to be here and happy to answer all the questions.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. So let's begin with our first question. As you guys know, Tether became the dominant stablecoin of its role as a cost asset for trading. Looking back, why do you think it was able to establish this position in Asian markets, especially compared to the other stablecoins? So this time, let's start from the Arun first.
Yeah, for sure. I think this isn't a really simple answer because there's so much that's gone on. But the key answer to this has been network effects and just overall lindiness. Tether has gone through a lot, right? It survived a lot. It's been around during a time where there was no other competition for stablecoins and everybody was very used to it. And also we have to think about who the actual end user for stablecoins is/are. Not every emerging market user actually is the one that clicks the buttons and uses USDT, but it's actually like payment service providers, payment gateways on behalf of the emerging market user as well. And just, it's not always the most crypto native user that actually uses it. So just, it's become habit, deepest liquidity. Many exchanges have tried to move off USDT and it hasn't really done well because trading volumes have moved over as well. And over time, I think the key to this is Tether is real money. And that's not necessarily true for every stablecoin, but it is the goal for all stablecoins. And it's something that you have to survive a lot to go through. Another thing that I'd like to touch on is the Tether has survived moments that any other stablecoin wouldn't. Right? We've seen bank runs. We've seen idiosyncratic implosions within algorithmic stablecoins. We've gone through a lot as an entire industry, but Tether has managed to keep the trust of the end user throughout that entire time. So I'm very proud of them very happy to be a user of them, and happy to be building something that can hopefully help expand that ecosystem as a whole as well.
Okay, maybe I can take it over and add something on. Yeah, so I think like the USDT kind of like dominant in Asia, not just in Asia, I think in the entire like crypto world. Also like USD has strong penetration in Turkey and in LATAM region as well. I think of course one of the key regions that you just mentioned is the first mover advantage. Like Tether actually, the USDT is actually one of the earliest real world assets, as we call it now. Yeah, and also it's come with the many other advantages. Actually, they did very aggressive regional expanding during the last cycle as well, and also did some like on-chain activities and expansion. And also, I think for the stablecoin, as you mentioned, Tether has been going through so many chaotics and incidents and collapse, but USDT is still one of the strongest. I think like familiarity and also the trust is the core to the crypto assets. It's not just a stable coin. And actually, the reason why USDT is also dominant in the crypto world is because the US dollar is kind of like dominant, right? So if you look at the stablecoin market now, the landscape, over like 99%. The stablecoin transaction happened on USDT and USDC, like USD dominated, but it doesn't like, okay, the other fiat currency didn't try. Actually, I remember like back in 2017 and 2018, I think Japan also, the Japanese government also tried the J-coin, the stablecoin, and Canada like launched the pilot stablecoin projects like CA coin, and also the British. The governments also launched a kind of like GBP stablecoin Panelists, but it's more like experimental cases. But with more and more clear regulation in this cycle, especially after the Genesis Act launched, I think more and more regulations are more like proactive and trying to explore more like clear regulation on stablecoin in different jurisdictions. So I think that explains the reason why USDT is still strong today and dominant in this market. And I think the newcomers can learn a lot from Tether.
I think one thing that I'd want to add is it kind of touches on your second point, Arun. Like USDT or Tether as an asset was just there when it was needed. Like when BitMEX introduced perps and the reason why USDT is such a dominant quote asset is because as it was being migrated away from BTC, you want kind of less volatile exposure to your trading. USDT was there, and it was there when it started. It was there 2 years later after the crash. It's still here today and is still being used. And I think that's something that they've nailed incredibly well is distribution to ensure that they are in the places they need to be where there is demand for it. Like there was clear demand for a quote asset, like a stable quote asset, and they were there where they needed to be. They have distribution on Ethereum where they are deeply needed within DeFi. They have distribution on Tron where they are deeply needed for payments and lots of kind of transactions. And today, they still continue to be in the ecosystems where they're needed. And like, for example, will be on stable day one through USDT 0. They will just always make sure that Tether is available where it is needed. And I think that is something that a lot of stable asset issuers can learn from.
Okay, so now building on those insights, today we see stablecoin usage expanding beyond trading into like remittances, payments, savings, etc. So but adoption is still uneven. What do you see as the biggest bottlenecks to mass adoption right now? So let's start with Emily this time. Yeah.
The
bottleneck of the mass adoption right now.
So I think for the bottleneck for not just a stablecoin, I think also for the crypto, the biggest challenge is still the on and off fiat ramp. It's really still need like some easy ways to on ramp convert from fiat to crypto and the first wise. But during the past few years, the development, the DeFi development, and also the banking infra started to integrate with crypto and accept blockchain. So I think we find more and more solutions for this, but still I think that is the number one bottleneck for the crypto mass adoption. And I think second, as I just mentioned, we need more clear regulation infrastructure, the guidance. But we can see it's moving quickly now, and we can see more and more co-development with the government from the giant company side, so which will push for the mass adoption with the real use cases. I think that is one of the key differences we saw in this cycle for the stablecoin development than the previous ones. Yeah.
You know, stablecoins as a whole, and Tether specifically, has had like a very bottom-up approach, right? People have used it because they've needed to use it, and it's been there. And it just hit such a scale where it actually impacts a dollar hegemony, which is actually wild to think about, because during early times it was just all about perps, which was a lot of fun too, and just spot trading too. But at this point, I agree with Emily. The real bottleneck is regulations, and we're seeing it in the U.S. So we had Bo Hines at KBW as well, and my co-CEO Brian was on stage with him, and they went in depth about what regulations looks like and where it's heading to. And I think we all know that it's a major topic that's being discussed at the in the most important of rooms. And we're seeing the U.S. specifically move in a very, very strong direction in terms of accepting stablecoins. And we saw Tether release USAT as well, that Bo is leading and is the CEO of. And I think probably the next 6 months, specifically in the United States, we're going to have a lot of clarity around what that looks like onshore versus what the amazing things that Tether has done offshore as well. And with that, the trickle-down effects of the rest of the world moving in a specific direction and accepting stablecoins in traditional financial rails that have built over the legacy financial rails that have been built over decades. I think we're going to see abrupt, strong changes. And yeah, happy to be in an industry that's at the heart of that.
Yeah, I think the thing that I think about the most, or at least have been exposed to the most, is the distribution infrastructure used by these different asset issuers, and Tether, again, have done an incredible job of leveraging the different distribution infrastructure that they have. One side of that being kind of on and off ramps, or like distribution at the retail level with users and wallets and applications that are actually using Tether on a day-to-day basis. And the second thing, which I touched on earlier, is this introduction of USDT 0, again, being able to make sure that the asset is available where it is needed, day one or even day zero, and leveraging that to make sure that you continue to meet the users where they are is something that, again, we have a lot of conversations and had a couple announcements out last week with LayerZero of different asset issuers seeking to do the same thing, because they realize how much of an advantage there is to being on these chains day one or with these applications day one. So I think more and more teams or more stablecoin issuers leveraging this distribution infrastructure and actually, again, meeting the users where they are is going to be very, very important.
Yeah, thank you for those insights. Seems like one of the most biggest bottlenecks in Asia regions is regulation fragmentation and also infra fragmentation. Yeah, so I think as a Asian Stablecoin Alliance member, I think we should work harder to solve those kinds of problems in Asia region. Yeah. So yeah, let's move to our final question. Okay, so how do you see the role of stablecoins evolving over the next 3 to 5 years in Asia? If you had to pick one killer use case that could finally bridge stablecoins to the masses in Asia, what would it be, and how is your project preparing for that? So let's start from Angus.
Yeah, sure. I think the one that I think about the most, again, maybe just because I've had the most touch points with it, is remittances. I think Asia accounts for about 40% of global remittances, and it's almost like $1 trillion industry, or $1 trillion moved every year. And lots of people kind of bring up the old infrastructure providers of some of these remittances, like Western Union, and they charge 7 to 13%, and there's so much money being lost in the middle. And stablecoins are such a clear solution to cross-border remittances, and it feels like, I know there are tons of projects already working on this, and a lot of the kind of stablecoin native ecosystems are very, very focused on remittances. But again, just it seems like such an obvious use case, and we're finally at the point where there is enough regulation, there is just about enough kind of on and off ramping, there's enough infrastructure for users to actually be able to do this, and it is just so much better. It's just a much better money technology, and I feel like it's completely inevitable that even over the next 2 to 3 years that that's going to take over. And obviously we are very focused on helping not only users move their assets between the different ecosystems that they need to be, but helping the asset issuers themselves get between those ecosystems or between the different applications.
Yeah, I have to echo that point. Remittances, cross-border payments are the most important thing that is going to be tackled in Asia specifically. And I'm really happy that Angus is here because USDT Zero is doing a fantastic job in making an interoperable standard for that to happen. And without them, I don't believe that it'd be that effective for most chains to be able to address the other underlying issue, which is the transaction costs, the legacy tech that is currently being used to transact in stablecoins, So it would be quite futile for a lot of chains if USDT Zero really didn't exist. But that being said, our project Stable extremely focused on making sure it's very fast finality, low transaction times, low transaction costs. But not only that, we think a real DeFi ecosystem is built downstream of real healthy payments versus the other way around, right? Not to say we're not focused on DeFi, it is a major priority for us, but we really want that cross-border flow, that remittance flow, because currently, Angus and Emily, you alluded to this earlier, Ethereum, great for DeFi, Tron, great for payments in certain ways. But we haven't really seen a chain that tackles both. Currently on Tron, I think only like less than 4% has touched DeFi due to a combination of counterparty risk and et cetera. But if you had a chain where all the payment volume and payment service providers were more comfortable with not only the counterparties but the protocols that exist on that chain, they wouldn't just be hedging their currency risk, but actually able to earn yield on top of that as well. I don't think we've seen an ecosystem nail that, and here at Stable we hope to be the one that does.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Like payments definitely is, the following trend, and it is happening now. And I think, as you mentioned, the ecosystem actually is the key for the growth and the real use cases. So I think like for now, like stablecoin is moving from the trading assets, the core trading assets, settlement assets, to the real world like mainstream financial instrument already. And I think like now like ByReal and the Mantle chain together, like we are building that ecosystem that we can bring the stablecoin mass adoption to the most popular distribution venue, the trading venue on ByReal. And also I think like with the more and more integration with the bank system and more like e-commerce and the actual the e-commerce platform for the real use cases, and then we can build this more robust ecosystem, and we can see more and more people using actually stablecoin. That is how we can unify and integrate the global liquidity, like what crypto should be.
Yeah, like with each of you driving critical areas, like whether it's interoperability or layer 1 infra or exchanges, like I hope you guys will continue accelerate stablecoin adoption in Asian region. So yeah, finally we are coming to the end of our session. It's been a pleasure moderating this session, and thank you to our speakers, and thank you to all of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.